Hello everyone. In CIS-115 we are starting Module 5 on strings and encryption. Encryption is probably my favorite part of the class. However, the reason that we do encryption in this module with strings is primarily we're here to learn about how to use strings in Python. But if you don't have some purpose, some reason to work with strings, then they're not very interesting. So encryption gives us something to do that is used in all parts of networking and lots of programming. So encryption is important, but in order to do encryption, we have to know about strings. So I'm going to pop into the strings lecture and activity on the checklist here and scroll down a little bit. And right here, they're setting up a variable, a string variable with the word hello in it. So I'm going to go ahead and start Tawny up. Looks like I've got Tawny running. And I'm going to create a new file in my folder for strings, which is out there in my media folder here. Let's see. It's going to be in the root media flash drive. Get over to 2020 here and CIS-115 and Module 5 and Strings lecture. How's that? Strings demo.py. Okay, so we can take this code and paste it into Tawny, which is always better than just reading it or listening to the video. Actually make this stuff work. And so you can then do a print on spam and we'll see what happens. See, there's hello coming out. Now the neat thing about strings in Python, there are a lot of neat things, but one of them is that we can use double quotes as well as single quotes, but if you start with a double quote, you have to finish with a double quote. So you see when I run this, it makes no difference whether I put single quotes around it or double quotes. Now, one thing, if we wanted to have an embedded single quote in here, then if we have double quotes around the outside, then it's real easy to do something like this, hellos, and you'll see when I run that Python is fine with that because I started with a double quote. It knows the end of the string is right there where that other double quote is, and we can have a single quote inside there. Similarly, if I wanted to, for some reason, have double quotes in there, I could do something like this. Okay, now you notice I started with single quotes, so it's going to let me embed double quotes inside there. And you can see when I ran it, that's what I get coming out. Now, also, we could do an escape to get this done. If for some reason, let's go back to this example that we had, hello, and I wanted to do this, okay? Now, right now, that's not going to work because I started with a single quote. Python thinks the string ends right there, and then we've got an S and another single quote. So in this lecture, it shows you that you can also escape the single quote, and now since I put a backslash in front of that single quote, it's going to let me go ahead and embed it inside of that string, and you can see when I run it that it's fine with doing it that way. This is called escaping a character. Now, there's also something that a lot of the certification exams talk about, and that's a document string. A document string is like a really long string. So if I wanted to have a string that spanned a lot of lines, I could do something like this. 3 quotes. And I can then end it somewhere down here with 3 quotes. Okay? So now I can have line 2, line 3, line 4 of stuff, and I can actually do that. So this is a really long string. You notice how Tawny recognizes that and makes it all green. And so when I run this, you can see that that document string contains all that stuff. Now, it actually has embedded in here the new line characters as well, because you notice it went to a new line on each of these. So it actually has going on in here, it has a backslash n, which is a new line character. So watch when I put this backslash n in there. Did you see the extra line that came in? Normally I had these, before I put this backslash in here, I had no double spacing going on here between hello and apostrophe s and line 2. And then up here I escaped the new line character, and so it recognized that and it skipped down to a new line. So let's continue here with this, and you'll see that the lecture talks about escape characters as well. We can scotch tape 2 strings together with the plus. Now, you know, if we had numbers, this plus would be adding. With strings, you can see that the plus actually does, the technical word for this is concatenation. Concatenation, piecing 2 things together. And so, let me paste that in again. Okay, this is what's in the lecture. And you can see that when it runs down here in the shell window, we'll see hello world. Now you notice it didn't put a space in between there, because what's happening right now is this variable message. If we look, you can see the value of the what's in message right here on the right hand side, because in Tawny I had gone up here and checked to have it show me the variables in the program. But you can see what's in there. So if you wanted a space in between hello and world, then you could do something like this, put an extra space there, and then when we run it, you see that space gets scotch taped in with everything else. We could also go at it another way, whichever way makes more sense to you. We could do something like this. Okay? And that will get us the space in there as well. But you see, this is saying take this string, scotch tape it with this one that has a blank in it, and then take the result of scotch taping these 2 things together and scotch tape the word world on the end of that. So that's concatenation, the plus operator. There's also something called replication. string replication. And so if we wanted to repeat something a bunch of times in a new string, we could do that. And so watch this. Message equals hello, and I'll say times 4. And watch what prints out and what's in the variable when this runs. Look what I get. Hello, hello, hello. There's contents of the variable. So this is called string replication. String replication. Taking this one string right here, duplicating it 4 times, and store the result in the variable message. So yeah, and you can see they used a different word here, but same thing. So down here, you'll notice that they're trying to embed a single quote in here, and we know if you're using single quotes on the outside that this is going to give us a traceback error. So just to prove it to you, always good to actually try things. So we'll paste that in. You can see Tawny's already given us a clue that something's wrong with this green right there. But when I try to run it, you can see there's a traceback error. So we could fix this a couple ways. We could do this. We could backslash so that we're escaping that. And then it should be happy with that, see? So I could escape it. Or if you don't want to escape it, you could do this. Put double quotes around the outside, and that will work as well. So showed you 2 ways to handle that. Now there's some other escape characters here, and you'll notice right here it's given us a table. If you want to print, the backslash is used as the symbol to escape characters. So how would I ever print a backslash if I needed to? Well, here's how we could get a backslash to print. Normally, Python thinks a backslash is, is telling it to escape something. But if you don't know what a path is for drive, we can talk about that. But path equals, if you're running Windows, then Windows uses backslashes in the path. So this might be a folder name on Windows. Definitely not on Linux or OS X. But you notice how this has backslashes separating the folders in the path. Okay, we couldn't ever get that to work unless we escaped the backslash somehow. You'll see when I try to run this, it doesn't like it, does it? So if I needed to get this to print as C:\\users /Ken Clifton, I would have to do something like this. You notice I'm putting a backslash, so I'm basically escaping. Python says, oh, you want to escape the backslash character. And so now when I do that, you'll see I get what I wanted to print out. Now, this is showing you could escape a single quote or a double quote. You could escape the new line character. That lets us go to a new line. And so that's helpful if you want a double space or something. And then there's a tab. So tabs are nice for lining things up that are different lengths. And so let's just play with tabs a little bit here. So how about we do this? 1 equals 1, let's see, 1 equals 1, 220 equals 20, and 100 equals 100. And I wanted all these things to print at with the same amount of space between them. I could do something like this, print, and then I could put some escapes in here. Let's do this, single quote T for a, backslash T for a tab, and then I'll concatenate that with 20, and let's see, I left out the 1, so I've got to do 1, and then I'll do another tab in between each of these so you can see how we could use that to make things line up. Putting tabs between each of these. Let's see. 1. Okay, and there's another tab right there. And then 20. And then 100 is where I'm going next. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Okay, I'm saying put a tab. So when this prints, 1 should be spaced over down here, and then it should space over for 20 and so on. So let's run it. You see how it did that? Spaced over. Now each of these is exactly the same distance, and so if we were doing a printout for some reason, you remember from our last module we could do a for loop to do something over and over. For I in range, let's just say we wanted to print this 10 times. Okay, we could do that. Okay, now you can see here in a second how it will keep everything lined up nicely. So tabs are real handy for lining stuff up when you want it to be in columns. This is talking about single and double quotes, and we've already talked about that, so I'm going to continue on down. It looks like we're at the end of the strings lecture, where I'd like to stop on the general usage of strings, and I will make another video that talks about string indexing, because indexing can take a lot of space, a lot of time in a video. If you wanted to, we can pop into Code Lab for a minute and do a couple of the items that have to do with just concatenation and replication. So let's see, Code Lab. We'll sign in here, and we'll go to one CIS class, and let's go into module 5 and strings 1. And so assignment and literals, length and concatenation. So let's go to concatenation first and work one of these. Okay, write an expression that's the concatenation of hello and world. So I could actually copy and paste that down here, and it said just a concatenation, so hopefully you got that from the lecture, that hello and world does that. Let's go down and do the last one here. It says write an expression whose value is the concatenation of the values associated with a string name 1, name 2, and name 3, separated by commas. Okay, so separated by commas. So name 1, concatenate a comma, right? Concatenate name 2, concatenate, or scotch tape, whatever you want to say, comma, and single quote, and then concatenate again, and name 3. Okay, And so you can see if it would print Neville, Dean, and Seamus out. So you can see that we got that one right. Okay. Now, assignment and literals, these are probably pretty easy, but it says write a string constant consisting of 5 exclamation marks. Well, that's pretty easy. How about we do this? We'll use some string replication. That's a single quote, exclamation point, single quote, *5 says replicate it 5 times. And you can see it was happy with that. Could I have done that just with 5 exclamation points inside the single quotes? Sure, you could do that. Wouldn't be as interesting as what we just did. Okay, let's see. Went down to the last one here in that section. Associate 2 string variables named background and selection color with white and blue respectively. Background equals single quote or double, whatever you want to use, and color, selection color. Selection color equals blue, and we'll submit that, and you can see we got that right. Okay. Now, one thing that the lecture hadn't really talked about was how to get the length of something. And there is another lecture called the String Methods lecture that I'll do a video on, but we can go ahead and talk about it. There is something in Python that lets us get how long a string is. So in this example here, where we were printing that stuff, if I wanted to see how long the string that has the name 100 in it, I could do this: print len 100. Okay, and that should print 3 because the string 100 is exactly 3 characters long. You see the 3 printing out down below? So this is a length function in Python, and so that's what they're asking us to use here in Code Lab. It says, given a string variable named sentence that has something in it, write an expression who is the value of number of characters in the string referenced by sentence. len sentence. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, well, we'll pick up in the next section with string slicing, and that will make sure you have your thinking caps on, because slicing is a different way of thinking about strings. Okay, good luck with Module 5.